Well, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Fashion Flair Friday. Today is January 27th. Can you believe that the month of January is just about over? My goodness, we're just racing through our months, aren't we? So I hope that you all had an opportunity to listen to my message last week where I talked about really taking January and taking care of yourself, looking at ways that you could refresh and ways that you could rejuvenate and not be too hard on yourself about getting going. I remember my years of working in the corporate arena, and it was always like January 1st or January 2nd. Boy, the pressure was on to get out there and do. And now, yay, I don't have to do that anymore. I can take time for myself in January. And so I did. And even though we had a couple of 10 days of crazy weather here in California, we've had a beautiful 7 or 8 days now of sunshine. And we're getting ready to go into one of my favorite times of the year, and that is when the AT&T golf tournament is hosted right here, just a couple of blocks away from my home. So this will be a fun week of seeing, golf pros and amateurs, stars, football players, all that kind of fun thing that we see that goes on here over the next week. So I'll be enjoying that as well as getting ready for some business travel that I have coming up in December for some clients out of the state. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So anyway, just I hope for you, you've had a good start to the year and you're ready to move on. Now, I think January is also a great time of the year to be looking in that closet and taking care of what you already have. Sometimes we think, oh, we should buy clothes, we should hang them in the closet, and they should just take care of themselves. But guess what? That doesn't happen. We've got to take care of our clothes. And so, what I wanted to do today was to share with you 15 of my favorite hacks and quick fixes, if you will. Things that, products that I have used and things that I have learned over the years that I do on a regular basis. So I wanted to share those with you today. And if you have anything that you like to do in order to take care of your clothing or your wardrobe, please don't hesitate. Go ahead and put the information in the comments section because I think it's great to be able to share with one another. So remember, say hello and let me know you're here so that I can say hello to you back. And if you should be watching this later on replay, I always ask you to go ahead and put the hashtag replay in the comments so that I know that, people are watching. All right, so let's begin. I have 15 written down. I also have some things that I'm going to show you today. And so I'm going to go, hi, Betty, good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. All right, so let's go ahead and start with a dehumidifier. So if you live in an area like Betty and I do, which is on the central coast of California, we have a lot of wonderful humidity, which takes care of our skin and keeps it, um, you know, I would say plumped up a little bit and not dry, but it has its downsides too. And the downside is in the closet. So we get a lot of moisture in our homes, and because of that, we can get moisture on our clothes, which then can lead to possibly mold or musty or smelly kinds of things. So what I love to do is I love to use this product called Damp Rid. And I have had small, electric dehumidifiers in my closet, and they work very well until they decide not to work any longer. So the damp rid I love to also use for a couple of different reasons. I'll show you what it looks like out of the box. Okay, so it hangs, it's got a hanger. It just hangs over the rod in your closet. And in this upper portion are all the crystals that actually collect and draw the moisture into the package. And then as it draws the moisture into the package, you'll begin to see water down in this particular area. And you'll see it start to fill up. And as it starts to fill up, it's at this point, I go ahead and, unhook it, throw it away, and replace it. And the one thing I do love about the damp rid is they have a very nice scent. I think there are also some that are no scent, if you prefer that. But you can get damp rid in a variety of places. Certainly you can go ahead and order it on Amazon, especially if you're going to buy by the bulk. You can get it at Home Depot. I have seen it at some of our more local small town, what do I want to say, hardware stores. So this is a product that is very well known. Now you can also buy the crystals in just bulk, and then you can refill them or put them into a container that Damp Rid makes and set them on the shelf in your closet. So however you prefer to do it, I actually use both, but this with the hanger is certainly an easy way to do it, and you can see what's happening very nicely and decide when you want to replace them very easily. So dehumidifier to prevent your closet or your clothes from getting moldy or just having that musty sort of an odor. All right. Now, certainly, you probably all do this anyhow, but to really extend the wear of the garments that we wear, I think use your dryer a little bit less and begin to hang dry your clothes more frequently. So that might be your panties and your bras, anything with elastic in it. I think if you keep out of the dryer, you're going to have those pieces for a longer period of time. Also, I like to go ahead and wash my linen and my cotton and my rayon and even some of my knits. I'll put it on a gentle cycle, or sometimes I will hand wash and then I will just hang to dry. And what I like to do, especially with linen and cotton, is before those pieces are totally dry, I like to go ahead and iron them while they're still damp so they really, I can really get the wrinkles out very nicely. So again, this hack number 2 is to make sure that you extend the wear of your garments by using your dryer less and hanging to dry your clothes more frequently. Then the other thing that I absolutely could not live without, and I've probably had one for about 25 or 30 years, I would say. Actually, I have had the same one, and that is my Jiffy steamer. And you can see it's a stand-up steamer, and I just go ahead and keep this in my laundry room. And literally, I keep the water tank full down here, and when I need something that needs to have, a wrinkle taken out or, just to freshen it up with a good shot of steam, I go in and I use my Jiffy steamer. You can buy Jiffy direct from jiffysteamer.com. You can buy them on Amazon. And probably again, some of your local stores might even carry them. They do also make a portable steamer, but I prefer just having this ready to go. It's plugged into the wall, the water's in it, and all I have to do is turn on the on button and immediately the steam starts coming out. I've even got my husband trained to use it as well. So it's a great little product. All right, so Jiffy Steamer is my go-to for, getting the wrinkles out rather than sending things to the dry cleaners all the time. So let's see, Betty, what are you saying here? I keep a list of clothing repairs that need to be done, such as replacing a button. I write it on a list, and whenever I notice what needs to be done, okay. I then work on my list whenever I have an opportunity and save time because I'm doing several repairs at once. Great strategy to just, gather everything at one time, one trip to your alterations person or to your local cleaners to have things repaired for you. Great strategy. All right, and Cynthia, hi, glad to have you here. Yes, the the steamer is definitely better than ironing, no doubt about that. All right, the other thing talking about alterations, and that is I see women sometimes, rather than taking the time to go to alterations, they'll go ahead with their pants. They'll fold their, you know, pant that is too long, they'll fold it up and they'll go ahead and use some sort of a tape, like a mailing tape or a scotch tape, even sometimes the Hollywood tape, and they'll go ahead and take care of their hem that way. And I'm going to suggest to you that if your pants are too long, then go ahead and take them, just like Betty does, take them to your alterations person and have them hemmed for you. Number one, the glue from these tapes get on the fabric, and so that can be problematic. And then if you forget to take the tape off when you throw them in the washing machine or in the dryer, you've got a problem. So go ahead and make sure that you avoid using that double-sided tape and get to your alterations person. And I always say that your alterations person should be one of your best and most important resources when it comes to your style and having your garments really be fit to you. And she's the person that's going to really help you get the proper lengths of things. And of course, you always want to take your shoes or your boots in with you so she knows what she's got to work with in terms of what the length should be. All right, the other thing that I learned when I was doing a lot of, in my car, traveling back and forth to the Bay Area, and of course, I was wearing heels at the times. Right now, I'm not wearing heels, but at the time, I was wearing heels, and I would notice that, my heels would eventually, one heel, my right one, would always be scuffed on the back, or I would have a divot in the heel, the leather of the heel. So what I learned to do was to start carrying with me, either a driving shoe. So what does a driving shoe look like? A driving shoe looks like this. So, and there are lots of these out right at the moment. So whether it is a loafer or whatever, or it could be a lace up, but the idea is that it's got sort of this rubberized sole in various looks, but it's very flexible leather. So a driving shoe or even a little ballet flat. I happen to use these, and this is made by Tory Burch. And what I love is they fold up, and guess what I can do? I can throw them down into my tote bag, and they fit in there so nicely so that when I get to my destination, I can pull out my heels from my tote here and just do a quick swap. So these protect my heels and they are very comfortable, obviously, to drive in. So that's what I would suggest. The other thing you have to be careful of is, if you're going to be walking through gravel or lawn, having this extra pair, having a pair of flat shoes with you, really are going to save you from any kind of damage to your beautiful heels. So that's a favorite hack of mine. Of course, you have to have a tote bag which you just saw, which is large enough to hold all these kinds of things. But you know what I love? I mean, tote bags for spring are a big deal. And what I do is I like to look for tote bags that sort of have a look of a purse, once you get them folded in. So this one is by Tory Burch. I love Tory Burch's totes. And as I say, inside is just this little hook that you can hook together. It brings the two sides in and folds your tote to look like this, which is more like a purse rather than a big square boxy tote. All right. And by the way, even when with it closed up that way, I can also get my laptop or my iPad in there. So you got to think functionality as well, and ease and style, all those things that are important to me. All right. So let's see, what else do we have? Okay, so I did allude a moment ago about dry cleaning, and don't get me wrong, I do dry clean, but I really try and minimize how much dry cleaning I do. Number one, because it will elongate the time that I will have the pieces so that the chemicals aren't in the clothes. Second of all, it's better for our environment not to do as much dry cleaning as maybe we did at one time. So what do? All right, so very simply, you can take your jacket when you take it off, or your cardigan sweater, or even your blouse, and you can do one of two things. Depending on the time of the year, you can actually just hang it outside on a hook and let the breeze, go through it, or let the sun kind of, warm it up a little bit, dry it out a little bit if it's perspiration, get the odor out. The other thing you can do is certainly use it in your bathroom when you're taking a shower and let the steam of the shower kind of just work through the clothing. So that is one way to keep your things fresh. The one thing I will say is you never want to put your clothes back into the closet if you have been perspiring in them. Let them dry out, let them be, freshened up before you put them back into the closet. All right, let's see here. Do I have any other comments? It doesn't look like I do. All right, so let's go on to the next one. And one of the things that I have noticed is you really have to check the buttons on clothes when you bring them home these days. High quality clothing is one thing. You usually don't have to worry about it. But our bridge lines and maybe our lesser expensive, or things that have been on sale, or things that have been tried on in stores by, multiple people before, you decide to pick it off the rack and decide to try it on. Pay attention to look at your seams, look at your buttons. Not to say you shouldn't buy those things, but just be prepared that you may have to do some little repairs once you get them home. So I always say, always check your buttons on newly purchased clothes, because there's nothing worse than having a button fall off the first time you wear it and then losing the button and then having to replace all the buttons or get rid of the item. So, a simple needle and thread just at the handy is all you have to do to reattach those buttons and really strengthen and secure them to the garment. So I think that's a real important little fix. All right, let's talk about, let's see here. All right, let's say you damage the heel of a shoe, or maybe you nick it. So one of my quick hacks is to simply take a Sharpie, of course matching the color of your heel, and just draw in. I do this on my furniture at home too, but you could do this on your heels, you can do it on your handbags. So if it's a major problem, then I'd probably take it into, my shoe repair guy and have him re-dye it. But little simple fixes, I will use my Sharpie, my permanent, okay, so a permanent marker, and whether it's a small one, depending on how big you have to fill it in, or a larger one if the damage is a little bigger or wider, you decide. But having, some Sharpies available to go ahead and fill in our heels, our purses, those kinds of things, a little cheat is, I think, an easy way to take care of a problem, a quick problem, an easy problem. All right. You could also use it, I guess, on your belts too. So especially if you have that hole that has been, the metal prong has been, really working the hole because you always are wearing that belt. Sometimes it will wear the dye off of that hole. So that would be a good way to fill in that hole and to really darken it back up again. All right, I'm sure we all have our lint rollers. We cannot live without lint rollers, and I like to suggest you've got a lint roller in your car, that you've got one as you're ready to go out the door, or you even have one in your bathroom, let's say in the vanity, especially if you have animals. So during all the storms, we were staying with one of our daughters who happens to have two little kitties. And so I found, using my lint roller and having it at the handy was really important because, you can't complain about a daughter that lets you come and stay with them for a week, but you also don't want little hair all over you. So lint rollers definitely solve that problem. Now, if you don't have a lint roller, the other thing that I've done before is I've just wrapped Scotch tape around my fingers and then done this with the Scotch tape. So there's another little hack for you. Okay, so how about suede? So these are shoes, these are booties that I was wearing practically every day during that storm that we had. So every time I had shoes on, they were these shoes. And yet when you look at this today, you can hardly tell. They really almost look like they are new. And all I did with them, because they got wet, they got, dirt and mud on them, and all I did was use a little brush. Now, this is a brush that you can, I bought these, I think, at CVS, probably in the nail section, for manicures and pedicures. And all you have to do is to brush the suede, and what it does is it brings the nap up, and you just let all of the debris kind of dry out before you do this. So, it's a great little strategy. I would also suggest, however, that if you've got some dark suede and you've got some light suede, I would make sure that I have different little brushes, because we don't want to transfer the dye from the darker to the lighter. So look in your, manicure, pedicure, little stashes that you may have in your drawers, or check at your drugstore and buy little simple brushes like this to keep your suede looking beautiful and keeping the nap fluffed up and looking brand new. All right, here is another, I'm a big sweater wearer, a sweater lover. And so this little product, which I'll take it out of its little case here. It looks like a very large needle, doesn't it? And this is called a snag nabbit. And you can find these, you can find them at Amazon, just like everything else. But you can also find them if you have a sewing store close to you, although those are few and far between these days. It's a great little product. It is rough on one end, and it's smooth with a point on the other end. And so if you get a snag, and I happen to have a snag, so I happen to have a little snag right here. You can see that. And so it's, hanging out, and every time I put that on, it bugs me. And so all I have to do is to take the piece that is snagged, and wrap it around the serrated edge. I wrap it around a few times like that. Then I take the pointy part. I don't know if you can see this or not. And I take the pointy part and I just push it down exactly in the area in which it is snagged. And I pull it through. And it is totally gone. You see? So when you pull it, when you look inside, you will now see the snag on the inside, not on the outside. So these little snag nabbits are just little lifesavers. They come in a little clear sleeve. You push it down, and then you can put this in your makeup case, in your purse, or you can put it in your sewing kit and have this and have multiples of them and they're wonderful little gifts to give to people or to give to your friend to say, here's a little thing I want to show you. It works like a dream. So for any of you that love to wear sweaters and you happen to snag them and then you get frustrated by it, this Snag Nabbit is a wonderful, wonderful tool. All right, you know all those toothbrushes that you get from your dentist when you go in for your appointment? There was a time when I used to say, no, I've got enough, or I use an electric toothbrush. I really don't need that, except maybe one for travel a year. But now I say yes. And what I do with that toothbrush is I use it on my clothes. So if I get a little spot of food, or if I get, I suppose I could even use it on my suede, or I could use it on a jacket where you just don't want to rub with a flat cloth. You don't want to put water on something, but you just want to be able to flick something off or push something away. Toothbrush is a great way to do it. So start taking those toothbrushes and saying, sure, he doesn't have to know that you're not going to use them on your teeth, right? All right. Let's see, is there anything else? Well, the other thing you may notice is that if you get surface dirt or even deodorant, on your garments, especially when you're putting them over your head, suddenly you might see a white, marking here. Well, you can use the toothbrush for that for sure. But the other thing you can do is just simply take, your sweater or whatever the garment is and rub the fabric together this way. And that will take off that marking really, really easily without having to squirt it or spray it or, do anything more to it. So surface dirt and deodorant, rub the fabric against itself, and most time the smudges are going to come off. Let's see, is there anything else? Oh, one last hack, and that is if you want to keep the threads on the backs of your buttons to not fray, one of the things that you can do is take clear nail polish and just dab the actual thread on the back of the button, and that will go ahead and keep that thread nice and firm and secure, and it will prevent that thread from unraveling or from being frayed by maybe the friction of the button itself. So let's see, are there anything else? How about any of you? Okay, so Betty says you can make your own Snag Nabbit by threading a needle with thread from the front and the back to create a loop. Pull the snag tail through the loop and pull to the inside. See? Wonderful. Another wonderful suggestion. So if any of those of you that are going to be watching later, or those of you that are still on right now, if you've got a hack, put it in the comments area so everybody can take advantage. Oh, one last thing is that, if you wear a lot of synthetic fabrics, maybe you're, doing yoga quite a bit or you're exercising quite a bit, and you'll notice that sometimes synthetic fabrics really hold on to odor. So one of the things that you can do is you can use OxiClean. I find that to be a great product to actually help synthetics release any kind of odor. The other thing you could do is take a mixture of warm water and some borax and just mix it up. Put your garments down in for about 30 minutes and let them just sit, and then go ahead and wash them. The other thing you could do is you could put about a half a cup of borax into the load of wash, and that will be a cleaning booster for you. So laundering synthetics was one hack. The dehumidifiers in your closet. Hang drying clothes rather than using your dryer all the time. Number 4 would be using a steamer, either an upright steamer, as I showed you, the Jiffy steamer. That's called the J2000. It even comes in pink, and or a portable, if you prefer that. Having things hemmed rather than using, double-sided tape, which will ruin your fabric. Using driving shoes or flats rather than trying to drive with your heels in order to save your heels. Let's see. Using fewer trips to the dry cleaners and actually using the outdoors or the steam in your shower to go ahead and keep things fresher for longer periods of time. Checking the buttons on newly purchased clothing and securing the buttons with a simple needle and thread. I don't know about you. Do any of you use needle threaders these days? That's something I don't have, but maybe I should, because I do struggle with that a bit now. Using permanent felt tip pens to touch up scuffed areas on your shoes, your belts, and your bags. Keeping that lint roller handy and in your car. Rubbing fabric against one another to kind of get rid of the surface dirt or deodorant. Using Snag Nabbit, or as Betty suggested, using the needle and thread. Let's see here. Using your brushes for keeping your suedes clean. Using worn out toothbrushes to be your first defense against dirt or food that's sticking to your clothes. And then dabbing clear nail polish on the back of a button to keep the thread from wearing. So there you have it. Hopefully some new tips for you, but also some reminders of things maybe that you used to do that you need to reinstitute again. So that is it for this week, my friends. I hope that it's been helpful. And next week, I will be here for Fashion Flair Friday, but I'm going to do it at 10 a.m. instead of at noon. And the reason, as I said before, with the AT&T here next week, the golf tournament, we've been invited to a party at 11 a.m. So we can go on to the course and actually see the players and so forth. So I want to still be here for you next week, but I'll be here at 10 a.m. So mark your calendars, or of course you can always catch it on replay. So let's see. I see Karen. Karen, hello. Love the toothbrush trick. Never knew that one. These are all good reminders and so helpful. Well, thank you very much for being here today. And if any of you happen to think of a hack later on and want to come back into the group and add it to the comments section, please feel free to do so. I would love that. This is your group, and so the more you can help one another, that makes me happy. So that's it for now, my friends. I look forward to seeing you next Friday, but at 10 a.m. instead of at noon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye now.